So now the next natural step is to do what? Multiple variables, right, multiple random variables and multiple random variables with relationships. Okay. So far what we have not done is two things, we have only done single population, single variable or two variables, now we have extended to two variables, but with the assumption that they are all independent. So there are two ways in which we should expand, one we have to do away with what is called as independency, the other one is we have to extend it to multiple random variables, right. We have only looked at one random variable which is one sample test or two random variable which is two samples. Now we may want to ask a bigger question of multiple random variables, that is what is in reality useful, okay, because before you come to 2 you would experiment with a large number of, imagine drug discovery, there are so million combinations, finally funnel to 1, right, at various stages they will reduce the numbers, right. So usually you start with many and you boil down to 1. So it is very important that we understand how to compare multiple treatments or multiple random variables, the effect of multiple random variables along with the idea of relationships, okay. And that is where so far we have not developed a model of the output, okay. So far somebody gave you mean, somebody gave you variance, you were just comparing mean and variance, right. Now when you take multiple random variables you want to develop a model how each variable affects the output, is it linearly or non-linearly. Now now we have compared only two variables, right. So there is no question about it, and that too you have not said one is an output, one is an input, we said only two populations, whether they are equal, whether they are not equal. Now we have to slightly change, start asking questions, what is the input, what is the output, which input affects the output more, which input affects the output less, is there a relationship between inputs, etc. So now we have to ask, start asking more, you understand. So far we have simply done one random variable, we will tell, if you give me I will know how to compare the mean, do a test on hypothesis. That one random variable can be your output or can be your input, usually it is the output, whether the output is significantly above 0 or not 0, above a particular number, is the variance greater than 0, that kind of questions. And now you can compare two outputs, that is two random variables, right. Now we have to talk about comparing, connecting output with inputs and the output influenced by multiple inputs and the input themselves having relationships, okay. We have to start asking, expand and start asking these questions, okay. That will be actually the rest of the semester itself, okay, to address all of these questions. You see the flow is clear, right, where we are heading to. So now we have did this, so we will start looking at, now we will start looking at multiple random variables. When we talk about multiple random variables, give me an example, give me a biomedical example, blood test, what is multiple random variable here? You are looking for output various parameters. The other way to put it is, let us say one effect, one symptom or one disease is influenced by multiple parameters or multiple variables. So your diabetes for instance or your blood pressure is influenced by what? Too many factors, multiple random important random variables. So if you want to study about blood pressure, you need to know the relationship between blood pressure and various important variables. Like let us say if you are talking about sugar control in diabetes, okay, what all could influence. So in this case, so additional effects of the type 2 diabetes drug, in which with type 2 diabetes who has undergone cardiac surgery, okay. So when you talk about a drug effectiveness or even a simple a disease or a disorder, there are simply going to be too many variables which will be influencing your output. Type 2 diabetes, does it depend upon cholesterol levels? Pressure, does it depend upon type 2 diabetes? Yes or no? Is there a relation between hypertension and type 2 diabetes? Yes or no? Hypertension and diabetes, is there a relation or no? No? Hypertension and diabetes. Hypertension and diabetes, biomedical engineers, there is no relationship. What does diabetes do? What does diabetes do? Increases the blood sugar levels basically. So, why does diabetic patients have problems with eye or leg? You all did, you are biomedical engineers, right? Or am I teaching a different class? Why does a biomedical, why does diabetes people have problem? They are supposed to ask to walk and their eyes are always a danger. Any idea? Huh? Nerves. Why? Huh? Increased blood pressure. But why diabetes should affect blood pressure? Oh God, okay. Very bad, come on. Common sense, blood sugar levels increase, so what happens? Blood sugar levels increase, so what happens to blood? That is all right. Diabetes means what? Increased blood sugar levels because of insulin resistance, period. So your only outcome is what? Blood sugar increases. So what? So what happens? Viscosity of blood changes. So you actually add a solid material to blood, what will happen? Solid material to a liquid, what will happen? The flow will decrease, the viscosity of the blood will increase, right, because now you have dissolved something extra in the, so you imagine a salt water versus a regular water, what will happen? Which one will flow faster? Why? Salt water's viscosity is different and high because too much of salt is dissolved, so the flow is affected, right. Same way, when blood sugar levels increase, the viscosity of the blood changes and it increases the viscosity, thereby the flow decreases. So if flow decreases in the body, what will happen? Which blood vessels will get affected? The tiniest blood vessels, okay, where blood has to flow, because of viscosity it is not going to flow fast, it may not get proper blood supply, and the farthest from the heart is going to get the damage more. So your legs, especially your legs, small veins and small blood vessels in the legs will not get enough blood supply. Now in order to make the blood supply, reach the blood supply, what will happen? In order to have that particular blood supply, amount of more pumping, the heart has to pump more so that the blood reaches the body, every part of the body. So what will it lead to? When the heart starts pumping more? Hypertension. So that is why diabetes and hypertension are brother and sisters and brothers. They one comes, the other will naturally come after some time, because it has to pump to make the blood reach it, because the viscosity of the blood is now high. So it has to work more to pump and it will not reach the veins, the one. And eye is always a danger for diabetic because small blood vessels, right. The extremities have tingling issues because the extremities will not receive proper blood supply, even though the heart works extra time, and if the heart works extra time, you take medicine to reduce the pumping, in turn it will affect the extremities again. You see the idea? So this is what a simple so called benign as it looks benign, just as increase of blood sugar, it can damage every part of the body, and there are too many variables involved. Now cholesterol levels, will it have an effect or no? Why? Why cholesterol levels will have an effect on the blood sugar? If cholesterol levels are high, liver cannot function as intended. Who controls, which organ controls the entire energy storage, I mean most of the energy storage, energy release, etc.? Liver, right. So liver, if it not functioning properly, it will add damage to, more damage to the blood sugar levels. So cholesterol will have an effect on the liver, liver has a big say on the energy storage and energy circulation, so they are connected, right. So there are multiple random variables, and these are all random variables. As I told you, none of the measurement in the body is constant, all are random, okay. So if you, and they are also heterogeneous even for a single person. If you eat and take sugar levels, that is different before in case of fasting. The same goes with fat contents as well, right. So now all are random variables, and they are all interconnected random variables influencing the outcome, okay. So that is where a multiple random variables involvement comes in. Any problem in the body you take, this is typically a multivariate problem. You will hardly think about 2 random variables or 1 random variable at a time in biomedical engineering, okay. Many variables are connected, okay. If there is only one pathway for cancer cells to grow, today cancer would have been a solved problem. Why? If I block that pathway, then cancer cells cannot feed on, and it will actually natural apoptosis will take place. But is that what happening? People try blocking multiple paths, still cancer cells grow, because there are so many pathways in the body through which the cells can grow and cells live, right. So that is the problem we are talking about. We are talking about multiple random variables related. How do I theoretically understand them and start talking about the relationship is what we will talk from the next class.